Dear participants of the discussion, welcome to our session, How Technological Revolution Transforms Economic Growth and Can It Reduce Inequality? Today, we have the opportunity to hear the opinion of prominent world-class experts on technology development, inequality, and economic growth. You all know the speakers of our discussion. They are Ms. Lilia Burunciuc, Regional Director for the Central Asia region and at the World Bank. You're welcome, Lilia. Mr. Werner Liepach, Director General for Central and West Asia Department at the Asian Development Bank. Dr. Xavier Sala-i-Martin, Professor of Economics at Columbia University and the author of the Global Competitiveness Index, used since 2004 by the Global Competitiveness Report, published by the World Economic Forum. You're welcome, Dr. Sala-i-Martin. We're very glad to hear from you today.
Nice to be here.
Mr. Tarun Wadhwa, visiting instructor at Carnegie Mellon University College of Engineering in Silicon Valley, entrepreneur, strategist, and writer. Tarun's anticipated new book identified the digital transformation of who we are, explores the global rise of digital identification systems, and show how they are changing governments, social norms, and lives of people. So it's very glad to hear from you, Mr. Tarun. And so you are welcome, dear speakers. And now let me briefly introduce the topics of the discussion. The relationship between technology and inequality is multifaceted. Technology has enhanced productivity, accelerated economic growth, enabled knowledge and information sharing, and increased access to basic services. However, it has also been the cause of inequalities. Okay, let's move. And our next topic about the impact of fourth industrial revolution on labor market. And I want to ask Mr. Wadhwa to share his thoughts on this aspect of our discussion.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here with you today in the company of such an amazing group of thinkers. I'd like to talk about how technology is advancing and what it means for economic growth. And I'm going to start with a discussion about jobs, but understand this is a far bigger subject than just labor. We're living in a time of exponential change where we're seeing industries overturned. Our way of life is being transformed, and new paradigms are challenging our social, legal, and ethical systems in brazen ways. Entire classes of jobs are being replaced with software. And it's not just low-skilled workers. As machines are able to handle more and more complex and sophisticated tasks, they will soon replace some functions of today's lawyers, executives, and yes, doctors. We are likely headed towards a future where there are dramatically less jobs than we're used to. And the current job paths, especially for the professional class, look quite different. You're going to see software as a part of the daily workforce, as a part of the daily work and job for nearly every single profession. So in many cases, technology will augment work. In many other cases, technology will displace workers. So what this means is that there's a lot of disruption ahead. We're going to experience centuries of change in a matter of years and decades. There's going to be many winners and losers, but we have a chance to entrench, remake, or reimagine core parts of our world. So when it comes to technology, growth, and inequality, there are three key trends that I'd like to highlight for you today to help explain where I see this going based on my work and my time here in Silicon Valley. First, innovation has globalized and the barriers to entry have come crashing down. We are seeing something incredible. Virtually anyone from anywhere now has the means to attempt to solve their own problems with technology. It's no longer a monopoly of any one wealthy country or one major company. Take, for example, the iPhone. It's a supercomputer with over 24 sensors attached. Several decades ago, if you wanted to build that yourself, it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly more. Only the most advanced companies and government labs would be able to get their hands on it. Now you can buy much more advanced sensors than what was in those older devices for cents on the dollar from online marketplaces like Alibaba. You can buy them by the box. Incredibly powerful smartphones can be purchased for less than $50 in many parts of the world. And we're seeing what the result of this looks like. There's now almost 4.5 billion people who have come online, and it's changed the very nature of the internet. And while those people mostly started with simple communication tools, as phones and behaviors have advanced, there's now an enormous ecosystem around the world of developers and entrepreneurs attempting to serve their own local communities. The poorest parts of the world have become hotspots of innovation and bold thinking. In my upcoming book, Identified, I pay close attention to two of these areas, identity and payment systems. And if you want to understand what's happening here, you really have to step away from the Western world and the richer countries and look at places like India and Kenya to see the next generation financial and identity systems they're building. People can prove who they are with just their phone or simple technology. They're no longer tied down to location. We're replacing paper documents with something much better. And we're making it possible to communicate money as bits, as atoms instead of bits. And with that, you can build reputations, you can build new financial products, and you can supercharge a country in a really dramatic way. And perhaps the most interesting and obvious example of this is China in the last 5 years and the major gains that they've made. So this can be a major leap forward for the world. Second, we can now take on the grand challenges that face us. And again, I want to move past jobs because jobs are just part of the larger story here. We're seeing technologies coming together to produce incredible abilities. And three areas where I see this making a huge impact are cheap and abundant transportation, food, and electricity available to all who need it in the near future. In the next decade, I believe at least, we're going to see the convergence of machine learning, sensors, and hardware to create self-driving cars, which transform the way we move. I understand there's a lot of skepticism around this subject. Believe me, I get it. Where I live in San Francisco, I have 30 different companies test driving their cars on the road. Now, I wouldn't get in them today, but give them several years and they will make some major improvements. We're seeing LEDs and AI come together to change the way we produce food in vertical farms. And countries like Singapore are rushing ahead with this to do some incredible things. And all around the world, we're seeing the cost of solar capture and battery storage move the cost of clean energy towards zero and bring a clean energy future within reach. So these developments will allow us to make progress on many issues, including education, hunger, and poverty, which are very, very difficult things to deal with and have an enormous human cost. But will this lead to easier commutes and cleaner food for only the wealthy? Can we use these changes to reduce waste or provide a higher standard of living to all? Will we focus on getting this in everyone's hands? And then what are the systems and tools that we need to build to make that a reality? It's up to us to figure this out. This is new ground. And third, the same technologies that bring us hope can bring new inequalities as well. And we have to pay very careful attention to this. As you probably noticed, technology does not make our existing problems go away. In fact, in many cases, it can amplify and make them worse. And each new technology creates new issues that we have to deal with. Take, for example, CRISPR, one of the most interesting, fascinating, and perhaps, depending on your perspective, illuminating or dangerous technologies we have available today. And what it is a method that allows you to edit genes and change the code of life. So CRISPR can offer us this incredible ability to make progress on some of our most debilitating and dangerous diseases. But it can also make things dramatically more unfair. And it's not a far-off scenario to imagine the rich or those who can afford it enhancing their lives in ways that were never before possible. They can one day give themselves or their children the ability to buy advantages such as increased intelligence, attractiveness, longevity. So will we use this to rid the world of diseases, or will we use this to create a class of superhumans and make all of our income inequality problems go haywire? This isn't science fiction anymore. This is something we're going to have to deal with pretty soon. So these are the sorts of challenges we will face. We're going to need to figure out how to make sure that we use these advancements to benefit the most amount of people and not just make life slightly better for the most powerful. So in summary, what we have before us is an amazing chance to tackle some of our most difficult problems and really move the world forward to a more equal place. We can create a more just, equitable, and prosperous world with technology, but we can just as easily see most of the gains concentrated to a select few and create even more inequalities. So it will take a great deal of intention and care on our part to make sure that this better future becomes a reality. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And Mr. Wadhwa, it will be interesting, to share with us with some of your insights from your upcoming book. And if we can just look as a case study, the future of digital identification systems, how it will transform society, how it will, what is the impact of this technology rising on inequality?
Well, one of the most dangerous inequality issues that we have today is that 2.5 billion people, possibly more, can't really prove who they are in the eyes of their government or their commerce systems. So they are essentially excluded. They're excluded from their basic entitlements, their basic rights, the financial system. They can't get savings and loans. In the eyes of the state, they effectively don't exist. This is a huge human rights issue in many, many ways. So this is one area where I believe in the next decade, we can essentially make major progress and perhaps even solve this. Now, many people don't want to be recognized by their governments. There's issues there. There's issues of surveillance. There's issues of power. There's issues of control. And those will need to be dealt with as well, too. But we are on the brink of a massive technological transformation in how we see ourselves and how we identify with the machines and systems around us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot. So.